Hello, everybody. Welcome to Blank Screen. This is Hot Wheels Turbo Racing any percent. First thing we have to do is erase our save file from the controller pack. The Nintendo 64 controller pack is actually required to speedrun this game, and that's due to some saving stuff.
Hot Wheels Turbo Racing!
Thank you very much, announcer guy, for introducing the game. So we'll sign in here quick. We do have to make a name just so that the file actually will save. And it's actually a lot faster to have the file save between races than to have it ask you if you want to put a controller pack in and save it. It's like literally like 20 seconds a race, which is super annoying. There's tons of cars in this game, like tons of them. There's even mystery cars that are hidden on every track that you have to go and find. But for this first one, we're going to stick with the Red Baron, and I'll explain why once we get into the first track here. But I'm still going. There's so many cars in this little silly game. I think we're just about ready to go. Timing will start with the countdown of the first race. So it'll be 3, 2, 1, go. And we'll see how this goes. Yeah!
3, 2, 1, go!
Yay! Here we go. Okay, so this is kind of like Tony Hawk car racing. You can see I have the turbo meter in the bottom left there. You are rewarded turbos for doing tricks. And there's all kinds of different tricks you can do. You can do front flips and back flips. You can do 360s. You can do barrel rolls even in midair, which is really fun casually to just like fling yourself off of cliffs and see what happens. This is a really weird game to speedrun too, because there really isn't like a percentage completion in like any way whatsoever. So to call this any percent is kind of silly, generally speaking, because there isn't any way to measure that. There's 3 tournament cups in the game that you need to complete for this to be considered any percent, and that's what we're going to be doing in this one. This is the first one. Oh boy! Oh boy! Okay. So this is a much slower lap now because I totally messed that up. But we're going to be going up top here instead of down below. Essentially, what speedrunning this game comes down to, because there really hasn't been too many people that have looked into any like complicated tech or anything like that for this game, is doing the same tricks very well on all 6 laps for every track you do. And it's not actually very hard to execute those tricks. With a little bit of practice, you can get this down in like no time. So. And the reason it's not a very complicated game is because there are, quite literally, 4 people who have runs for this game submitted on speedrun.com. So obviously it's a very small game, and I am not the first person to run it. This is a childhood favorite of mine. Okay, jeez. I wanted to make sure, I actually have to count flips there because it's really easy for me to get lost in them and forget where I am and what I'm doing. The first guy who I saw a run of this from was a dude named Cosmic the Dolphin. He was one of 2 people who had submitted time on speedrun.com. He was the only one to have it on N64. The other guy had it on PS1, which is a much slower game. I think there's actually much longer load times, and there's actually more tracks in that version, I think, than the cartridge N64 version. But Cosmic really put a lot of work into this game. His submitted run was more of a showcase, if nothing else. And that's where I learned pretty much everything I'm doing right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Okay, I really don't want to mess those really difficult, weird tricks up. We have to do another really crazy one on the track after this that I actually need to count to make sure I can land at the right point in time. This is my favorite jump. You just like smash into the side of that wall and it just lines you up perfectly for the turn that comes after it. It feels good. So Cosmic is the guy who figured out what vehicles you should be racing as for pretty much every single track that you're going to watch me do today. There are more tracks. We're not going to see all of them because we're going to skip 2 of them out of the 6 in this first tournament cup. And that's because we only need a certain amount of points to win. So you don't actually have to do all of them, which is kind of funny. But he is the one who recommended using the Red Baron car that I'm using now. And the reason we have to use this car now is because the shortcut that I keep taking coming up here is actually considered completely off-road. And there are some vehicles that are better off-road than others. The Red Baron is the fastest on regular road and off-road, so that's why we gotta take this path here. Oh man. That was an interesting boost, no doubt. Okay. I'd never done it before. So that's why we gotta use the Red Baron on this one. We're gonna switch vehicles for the next track. It's definitely kind of an interesting little mechanic, the fact that there are multiple vehicles that you have to use for certain things. And I'd actually be very interested to, one day, I don't know, anytime soon, develop, develop a 100% category for this game, where you have to unlock all of the mystery vehicles. They are hidden in some ridiculous places that are actually really hard to reach because, I don't know, it's a janky racing game from whatever year this was made. So that would be really cool. I think it would call for some very interesting, difficult maneuvers, and it would be a much, much longer category than this one. We will be getting 1 mystery car, and in the next race, we're going to finish our first one right here. The 529, that's actually not half bad. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start the next race. And I don't really feel like doing that race. So we're just gonna skip it. Okay, we need the, oops, not the mongoose, we need power pipes. This is our next car for this next one. The panic button. So you can explode in this game. If you do a trick and you land like upside down, you will just explode. If somebody runs into you at a very, very high speed, you will explode. And in order to reset yourself, essentially to respawn, or, you know, like Mario Kart, Lakitu will come down and help you out. Oh boy, okay, that's not good. You can hit the panic button, which is just right on the C buttons. And that'll just respawn you, and you can actually do a death warp with that mechanic later on. So as I was saying before, there aren't very many people who have runs submitted for this game. I'm gonna panic that. Okay, so you can see right there, I knew I wasn't gonna make that jump. Those electric boosts are really awkward. Not very fun at all. Okay, that was good. So that is probably the craziest trick that we do in the run, flipping dizzy, where you just do a triple front flip and then a 720 right after it. And the stick is actually pretty sensitive. That blue power-up that I'm picking up actually gives me more control over the car in the air, so you can do, like, dang, okay. Hit the rocks. That's too bad. We'll do a front flip. Awesome. And that jump right there is really treacherous. Like, man, so many times, if you run into that corner, you're totally screwed. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, that's whatever, because we have to go back in here and get ourselves a secret mystery car. Okay. Alright, we're good. That's very hard to do efficiently. There is no drifting in this game, which is not very common for like a racing game. Usually racing games have some kind of drifting mechanic. This one doesn't. The R button and the B button are actually both brake. So, oh, come on. So there's a little bit of luck going on there with this track. It's not as bad as one of our ones that we'll do later, where there is almost a 100% chance that a enemy AI car will run into you and explode, no matter how hard you try. Let's see if we can finish this up with a couple good laps here. Cosmic did a really good showcase of this run. It's still on speedrun.com, where he explains all of his vehicle choices. Very, very, very good job in terms of documenting, like, dude, really? Come on now. In terms of documenting, you know, like a speed game and talking about the things that you figured out, he did an extremely good job of that, and that's, you know, not always that common. But given the fact that there's so many different vehicles in this game that you won't always have all of them unlocked right away, this guy is really in my way. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Have a nice day. To sit down and figure out, dude, I'm so mad about that. Not much we can do about it, but that's the way the game goes. To sit down and figure out every single vehicle and figure out which one is the fastest, that is not an easy feat. It's a lot of research that guy did. Oh, this guy's gonna come out of nowhere. All right, he exploded. Goodbye. Thanks for coming. Okay, so this was a really rough race. We had some really bad luck with the timing on the rocks. If you have good laps, you really won't have any problems with that. Please do a front flip. Okay, yeah, 408's pretty rough.
For a donation?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a $50 donation from Honorless that says, shout out to Niche Speedruns.
Sweet. Okay, so the car that we had to stop and unlock is called the Rockbuster. It's this bad boy right here. This is actually the car we're going to be using for pretty much the rest of the run until we unlock the fastest car in the game. So it is kind of cool that we actually had to stop all our forward motion and go pick this car up off the ground, add it to our repertoire of toy cars. So this is a track that I recently, while I was preparing for this marathon, found a very small new strat on, and I'm not even sure if it's any faster, but it's a lot cooler. Hello to the snowman up there. So this half pipe section, which, by the way, that is not what I wanted at all. We can ride this half pipe all the way around, and before it was like really annoying because you needed like 6 turbos going into there in order for it to, like, you know, work efficiently. Now we don't need that anymore because you can just ride up the side of it and only use like 3 or 4. So you're going to save a little bit on turbos, and it is much easier to execute than it was before. So this car is fast, and it really it flips and does tricks really well. And every car in this game, they do have unique stats. So there is a lot to take into account. Some of them are really good at stunts, but they're super slow, and they explode when they touch anything. Other ones, there's like monster trucks you can drive, which are cool, but you will not pull off a front flip successfully, I promise you. It just isn't going to happen. All right, this is an okay lap. Yeah. We're looking for about 49 seconds a lap for this track, but you kind of have to just accept what you're going to get. Expect what's going to happen. Okay, that's not good. I didn't want that. So it's a very execution-based game. You know, you're doing the same tricks on every single lap. You're doing 6 laps in a row, and it's a lot of fun for your first couple runs, but the route itself, just doing the 3 tournament cups, can get old pretty fast because a lot of really annoying stuff can happen if you don't get lucky. The track after this, we're going to see a lot of that, I think. But it's also going to have some interesting manipulations, checkpoint manips and stuff like that. There's a 49, thank you very much. That's what we're looking for. Here, 1, 2. So 100% category of this game would actually require that you play every single track, because every track has like 5 mystery vehicles on it. That is a lot better than what can happen there. Sometimes you just like run into the corner of the fence and just explode. So I will happily take that over the alternative. There's a mystery car on this track, like frozen in ice, that you have to use a really big car to break open. Oh boy, are we gonna make it? Barely made it. Let's go see the car. So this is a little shortcut back here. But there's a tunnel in there that you can break through, and once you break through it, there's a car frozen in ice. So if you were to do a 100% run of this, you would have to do this race with a huge car, which would be very difficult. The bright side is that it is right at the beginning of the track, so there could be routing options for grabbing it at the beginning and then quitting the race, because it will save the fact that you picked up that car. But we're gonna go to a half pipe section. So you can do like Tony Hawk like stunts off of these half pipes. It's like one of the craziest things ever. All the different things you can do. Naturally, we don't get to see a lot of that in this run because we're just trying to get through the race as fast as possible. But again, casually, this is an awesome game. The tricks are a lot of fun. It handles really well. You know, the controls aren't like messy and janky. They're surprisingly fluid and tight. And it's a cheap game, so if you see Hot Wheels Turbo Racing at your local game shop, pick it up. It's worth it for sure.
Back off!
So I do hold the world record, quote unquote, for this game. Again, this category by itself is really interesting and kind of weird. We'll take a 510. That should be fine. Okay, and we're going to start our next race right away. But I only beat Cosmic's run by like 17 seconds. That was my goal, was just to beat it by a reasonable margin. And I managed to do that much. Here's our first death warp. Okay, now we're back at the finish line. And we're just going to spin around like this and go through this exit door. If you run into the exit door, you will be murdered immediately, explode. Pretty cool. This jump is a little bit more forgiving, but it's really hard to get through those boosts. When you go through the boost, it tries to redirect you in the right direction, which is like, thank you game, that's very nice of you, but I don't desire this at all. You have to, after you go through the boost, hit just the right amount of like direction on the joystick and redirect yourself in the right direction. This section that I just went through is the most dangerous section, because since this isn't a circular track, we go up there and then you're supposed to come back down and like go back through that section again. The AI will just be going through there at, you know, like Mach 10, and they'll just explode you. Okay, so you can see, oh boy, oh we got a boost, thank God. That jump is super awkward. If you want to go right more than you want to go left, you go left, you're probably just going to smash into the wall. But, oh boy. So that's a little bit of checkpoint manipulation there. You're supposed to go around that portion of the track, but you don't have to. You can just bonk into the checkpoint sign, and it'll qualify it. All right. Got to get into it a little bit here, because these are actually very good death warps. The game is weird. If you're at like a complete stop, it'll let you use the panic button. But if you're still moving and you haven't like hit a wall yet or anything, it does not let you do it. So you can just sit there and smash C right the entire time, and it won't reset the death warp. So it's actually a little bit more precise than it looks. You have to make sure that bonk your head into the wall, and once you hit the wall, if you're like touching collision, the game acknowledges that as, oh, they want to reset the vehicle, let them reset the vehicle. Dude, please. Oh, I got the hammer. Bam! Okay, so that was not a great death warp right there, but the items in this game are really silly. Like there's the hammer and the grapes. I don't know what the grapes are supposed to be, but they're like purple bubbles. The hammer and the grapes, anything you touch explodes immediately. So you can just run headfirst into like 6 different enemy vehicles, and they will all explode and have to respawn, which is hilarious. So there's the purple grapes right there. I just went past them. There's like the blue gyroscope thing that makes you do tricks in the air better. Trying to keep an eye out. Oh, we got the hammer again. Okay. There's the random one. The random one will give you a random item. Big surprise there. Please reset. Okay, thank you. The turbo tank will just give you 1 turbo, so that's not too exciting. The yellow stick, I think I don't know if it's like a piston or what it is exactly. Look at this jump. Perfect. That's great. That will actually cause you to be driving at top speed the entire time, which is crazy. So getting those like in a random item thing is really, really good, because then we're driving as fast as we can. In terms of tech in this game, really what it's going to come down to, I really hope we can get through this section unharmed. We got the hammer a 3rd time. This is amazing. Okay. The speed tech in this game, turning and being in the air too long causes you to lose speed. So look at these jumps. These are great. What you usually pretty much need to be doing during those moments is using turbos. So if you ever have like a really big long turn that you have to make, you have to be using turbos during it. And that's a lot of what the trick routing comes down to in here, is knowing when to do those things. Alright, that was an okay race. We've got one more race. I don't feel like doing that one either. Okay, Midwest Speedfest has mad skills. Alright, so we're going to unlock a whole bunch of cars, and we're not going to use any of them. Now we're going to move on to the second tournament cup here. This is really an all cups category is what it is. It's not really in any percent in any way. And these tracks get much more treacherous. This is the secret car challenge, and if you beat this one, you unlock... Uh-oh. Don't blow me up. Thank you. If you beat this one, you unlock 2 of the fastest cars in the game. They're called the twin wheel vehicles. Boy, this is quite a mess. The terrain here is much less forgiving. We're going to go through this wooden half-pipe thing now. And we're going to use the most OP trick in the game, the red tomato. It's going to give you 4 boosts, and it's only 2 moves. So this is the most you're going to get out of just 2 moves on any trick. Don't run into the big spike wall that will blow you up immediately. But you can see I have the red piston stick thing, and that's going to keep me at 180 the entire time, and that is max speed in this game, which is actually really nice. A lot of speed games, or a lot of racing games rather, will just have, you know, like a speedometer, which is fine, but it's not a very good way of measuring, like actually measuring for speedrunning how fast you're doing something. This game literally tells you for sure you are going max speed. This is as fast as the car will ever go. So that's actually really a nice thing to have. Another really cool thing about this game, it has a practice mode, and it's not like time trials. It is literally go around the track as many times as you want. around and around and around and around. So practicing all these tricks and all these tracks is actually very, very easy in that case, because you can just be like, I'm gonna practice this one today, and you just go around and around until you get it down. You also learn very quickly like what kinds of mistakes you can make when you're just doing it over and over and over again. Okay, this is a very smooth lap so far. I vastly prefer this car, the Rock Buster or whatever, to the fastest car in the game, because it's a little too fast. You can start going through sections at speeds that are very hard to manage. I'm the man. Whoa! Excuse me? That's never happened before. Ooh, I'm gonna scoot back there. Alright, that was a rough lap, but we'll take it.
Back off!
Okay, that was a good dodge. That portion in the fastest vehicle, the one we're going to use for the last race, is very hard to pull off. You literally have to let go of the A button because you're going too fast to make those turns like that. There's a lot of really weird cars in this game. There's a go-kart that you can race as that can like just do like insane tricks. There's a tow truck you can race as. That one's got surfboards on the back. It's in my way, thank you. Okay, lap 5 out of 6. Another 54, we'll take it. And we will actually be able to make some decent comparisons between this and the fastest car in the game in terms of showcasing this. Because we'll have to do this track in particular again. This will be the last track in the game. Oh boy. Scary. So we've got this race, another race after this that we will only do once, and then we have to do this track one more time for another 6 laps. And that is actually a very, very difficult race, especially from the perspective of this being a kid's game. The 2 fastest cars in the game, the AI, they just rubber band so hard. So like one mistake and they start to catch up to you. And in order for this to be a quote-unquote completed any percent run, you do have to beat those 2 cars. And they're jerks. They blow you up all the time. Okay, that part gives me so much anxiety. Smooth going. Also, this game has a sick soundtrack. It's seriously so good.
Back off! Back off!
So some of these tricks don't look very difficult, but they are really frustrating at times. Because the game is a little too forgiving to the point where it like overcorrects you if you land incorrectly. And that can seriously mess you up. We've already seen that a couple times in this run. Okay, we're gonna go on to the test track now. This is a really weird track. And it's actually, no, it's not my least favorite. It's probably my second least favorite. But we get to do a very, very fast red tomato coming up very shortly here, which is awesome. We're gonna grab our piston. We're gonna hug these corners nice and tight. And we're gonna go like this. Ready? Okay. Really quick one. And turbo management on this track is exceptionally important. You have to really, really be careful because of the turn coming up here, where having those turbos is very, very valuable. This turn here, this is a really hard turn to make. So I need to have all 4 of those turbos. Okay. And then we're gonna go through the snaking slalom, which is like, okay. This gets really intense, that last part, because I gotta pull off that barrel roll, and it's actually really hard to get the timing on it right. We get to finish the lap with a big jump. We get to land a front flip Fury. That's pretty good. That is actually really hard to do, to land that correctly, because you have to make sure you get the right amount of height, and it's actually very easy to lose a lot of time there, because unfortunately, oops, I was supposed to do a different trick there. You can get hung up there. There's actually a sign that has collision up there that will hit you and knock you down. There's a lot of boosts for this turn. This is good. Uh-oh. Okay, we're good. There's like collision, just like invisible wall, like up in the air there, and if you hit it, you're really in trouble. Okay. So that was bad timing. I tried, I'm holding the R button to do the barrel roll there, but it didn't matter because you have to start doing the joystick input after you have been in the air. So I hit left on the joystick to do the barrel roll, but my wheels had not left the ground yet. All right, that was really tight. That was good. So you can see almost any time I'm turning or going through these loops, boosting on loops is really important. It looks like you're going really fast, but you're actually losing a ton of speed. And again, that's very easy to track thanks to our friend, the speedometer. And through the slalom again. Nice. Nice. Okay, all these jumps so far have been great. They usually do not go that well. And for my first run of this game, that I got 38 minutes and 30 seconds is the world record. My time. I actually turned the music off in the game to try and prevent lag at some portions. And you can actually do all sorts of really weird stuff with the camera. And I'll show that off in a sec here. Nice. So yeah, you can kind of see we're just like barely making that. Awesome. These are very good jumps. Oh, I hit the sign. All right, so we can zoom out really far. We can also do first-person mode. Here we go. I'm going to make everybody really sick. Very sorry if you have motion sickness. I know I do. Just looking at that, I was like, ugh. So, very weird stuff you can do. I like having it zoomed out like this sometimes, especially when I'm practicing, because I can see more of the track. It also makes you feel like you're going a lot faster. So yeah, it's interesting that they included a first-person mode, and they allow you to do like front flips and stuff, because oh man, it is so sickening to look at. Oh, come on. I let go a little bit too early there. Okay, we still got turbos for it, thank God. So yeah, in terms of execution-based speedrunning, there's a lot of execution here that you have to get perfectly every single time in order to get a fast lap, but it's still a pretty inconsistent game. And it takes a lot of practice. I thought I'd be able to swoop in and like just get this world record. It actually took me quite a while to grab it because I really had to get these tracks down to a T to even come close to the previous world record, 38:47. Okay, so that's a very good time. Explosion finish there. Midwest Speedfest has mad skills. Truth. Okay, so we unlocked the twin mill. There it is. And now we have to do the last trophy cup. This is the Twin Mill Challenge. So it's just me and these two other cars. One of them probably looks a little familiar. These guys are fast. And keeping control over the vehicle in this race is very difficult. Right, I just totally deserved that. Should not have gone for that. Sometimes you can make it, but I literally need to let go of the A button there. Okay, and we are catching up with them. So my first run of this game, I lost to these guys. So even though it was technically a finished run, you have to win this race, which is hard. They are quick. But that's cool. I mean, it's not often that, like, you know, a racing game tends to be super difficult, like super challenging. Usually there's like an ultimate strategy that you can use, or, you know, just a good execution will be enough to win it. Or they have to give the NPCs like crazy, insane rubber banding or really crazy speed boosts and stuff like that, just to give them free items and stuff, just to make it even close to a challenge. But this is actually difficult for a casual player, I think, and that's really good. So you can see once we kind of flatten out here, our default speed in this car is 180. That is the max. So this thing can really rev it up. I have the piston right now, so it's not a good example. The piston will give us that automatically. 52.13's okay. We're looking for 51s. Speed through here really fast. Good. Come on. That happened a lot in practice, so I definitely deserve that one. I think I went too far right there, and that is the result. Alright. So the hammer does not make me invincible, so I still really need to avoid big spike wall. Constant 180, we're going as fast as possible. The only thing that can slow us down is not taking corners tight enough. I definitely think going for this game might have a time trial mode. I'm actually not entirely sure about that. It might have done practice mode instead of time trial mode. But if it did have a time trial mode, I think it'd be really intense. I think it'd be really cool to see how far that can get pushed. So you can see that whole time I am just trying to stack up on turbos so that I can make, there's that constant 180 by default. Super OP car. There's a 51. I'm just trying to stack up on turbos there though, so that I can use all of them on that loop, because that loop doesn't give you any kind of boost beforehand, so you just have to go through it super slowly. But if I can just turbo through the whole thing, it'll go super fast. It's also really fun to just like smash the Z button for turbos and watch the number just go up. Oh god. Alright. Just watch the meter go down. Ready? Bam, 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 bam. And we'll use one more on this turn. And we're going to go into the last lap of the run. So after this lap, when it says finished or whatever, the race is over. The run is done. We're going to stop the timer. Oh, man. Come on, buddy. All right, we're good. So that was like, I don't know, 4 seconds I lost to just running into the edge of that slope because polygons are cool. And that kind of stuff happens all the time, even if you have practiced, you know, this track or whatever. Dude! Oh, we're gonna explode. Even if you practice this track 100 times, like, you're still gonna do stuff like that in places you've never done it before. Okay, time is coming up. Time.
Your time was a 39:25.
All right, that's pretty good actually. So yeah, just the closing thoughts here. This is a really silly, fun game, even just casually. If you see it, pick it up. And the leaderboard's pretty free, so we could definitely use some more players. Yeah, that's about it. So thank you, everybody.
No problem. This is a great run. Up next, we've got Yoshi Story Any Percent with Artemis. Stick around for that.